Yeah. So it's the last couple of weeks of September. I started having these really crazy headaches, these crazy migraines, and I never had migraine headaches before. And I just kind of brushed them off for the first week, and I was taking some pain meds, some just Advil, Tylenol, that kind of thing. Wasn't really cutting it. And after about a couple of weeks, towards the end of September, I ended up feeling really nauseous and eventually started throwing up. And at that point, some friends counseled, hey, you need to get yourself checked out. And I ended up going to the ER one night, on a Friday night. I think this was the beginning of October. And they checked me out, didn't really find anything, as the cause, but they put me on some pain meds and pretty much sent me home. So the next day was a Saturday, and felt like I should go to the optometrist just to get my eyes checked out, because they were bothering me, and I thought maybe it was something with my eyes. And the optometrist did some tests, and he said, well, you've got what's called papilledema, and it's the swelling of the optic nerve. He said it's not a severe case, but it's severe enough to where if I ever find it, he said my requirement is that I send the patient to the ER right away. So he wrote me up a referral and sent me back to the ER, and I went through the process, got through triage, and I sit down in the hallway, and I'm working with the nurses and whatnot, and then all of a sudden their systems crash, and they can't even make phone calls, they can't even call out, so they're all running around in a panic, and I'm just sitting there, and it's like, I think to myself, this is hilarious, this is this is a test, this is just an opportunity to learn some patience. Well, that was around 5 o'clock when I got in, and that happened, and all this panic's going on. And it wasn't until like 1 in the morning until they actually saw me and did a scan. The scan was like a minute long. I mean, it was a CAT scan. And so I waited for 8 hours, and I think it was around 12:30 when I'm pacing. I'm literally, I get up and I'm just walking around in circles, and I'm just praying. I'm like, all right, Lord, and I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, this is it. I can't do it anymore. This is ridiculous. I don't care how much pain I'm in. I don't care if I'm throwing up. This isn't worth it. So I'm just gonna go home. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me and just said, if you do that, the 7.5 hours that you just waited will all be in vain. So you better just stick it out. And I was like, okay, I'll wait. So half an hour goes by, and I'm sitting in this wheelchair, and they're getting ready to wheel me to the CAT scan room, and they did the scan, and it confirmed what the optometrist had found. So they admit me into the hospital, and they want to do an immediate spinal tap, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'll wait. Let's get on some meds. Let's explore every other option, and then we'll do that if we have to. So I'm in the hospital for like 5 days on some meds. Everybody's coming to see me. Did an MRI. It was all coming back negative for the real major stuff at that point, which was good, And after about 5 days, I'm like, I gotta get out of here, get out, feel great. I had a ministry trip planned that week to Texas, so we flew to Texas and did some events out there. And while I was out there, I started throwing up again, started having the really bad headaches, and I'm getting prayed for and all that, and ended up coming back, and it just got really, really bad. I mean, to the point where I'm like in my bed and I can't even function. I can't get out of bed and walk. I'm having to have people come and just help me out, and even to the point where I have to be fed. Like I can't even feed myself, because the moment I get up, my head is just pounding and killing, and it was just really, really bad. So that week, I ended up having the spinal tap done, and that really helped me out. But after about a week, the headaches would come back, and I would get another spinal tap and I'd be okay, and then the headaches would come back. So this pattern developed, and I was seeing a specialist at that time over in Winter Haven, a neuro-ophthalmologist. Amazing doctor, amazing guy. And so over the next few weeks, this pattern developed, and I'd go see him and he'd help me out. And then it was November when one night, I mean, it was just like I couldn't get through these headaches. I couldn't get over what was going on. And I just remember one night, I just cried out to the Lord. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and I couldn't even pray. I couldn't even say anything. I just like, God, I need you to visit me. I just need you. And I just started crying out. And man, the Holy Spirit showed up in that room that night. I remember there was just like chills all over my body, and my body started trembling, and all I could do was just pray in the Spirit. And I literally felt like the hands of God, like the hands of Jesus, just reach into my stomach, and I heard the Holy Spirit speak, and He said, "I'm taking it out of you." And I just kept praying that. Over and over. Like, you said, this is what you told me. You promised me you were taking it out of me. Because up to this point, we really just didn't know what was going on. I mean, they said, papilledema, the swelling of the optic nerve, but it wasn't clear what was causing that, And so after this experience with the Lord, I ended up going to see my doctor over in Winter Haven, and then he pulls us into the office, and he's like, well, things have kind of gotten more serious, and I could feel it. I could feel like the nurses were all like, oh, "Are you okay?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" And he sits me down. And he's like, "Well, we found some spots on your brain, and we're pretty sure that you have lymphoma. You've got brain cancer, and we need to refer you to some specialists over in Tampa." And so we just sat back. We were like, "Okay, cancer, all right." Wasn't thinking about that, And when he told me, man, I just had joy. I just had this joy, like, wow, that's amazing. And after this experience of hearing the diagnosis, me and my family, we went out to dinner and just celebrated, and had a big meal, had a glass of wine, just started praising the Lord and just thanking Him for this opportunity. And even though in the natural, the diagnosis was, this is a terminal illness and it's a serious thing that you have to deal with now, in my spirit, I was like, man, this is an opportunity for the glory of God to be revealed. I felt honored almost, like God would allow me to go through this. And so we started calling, family and friends, and one by one letting them know what was going on, what the diagnosis was, and to begin praying. Man, people were praying all over the world. I mean, I had a trip planned to Myanmar at the time to go do some ministry over there, and God's doing some incredible things there in the hearts of all of these different Buddhists that have suffered because of the cyclone and because of the government unrest. And I was like, man, I gotta go. But then I obviously couldn't go, and they ended up praying for me in this time, and I ended up going over to the Moffitt Clinic the week of Thanksgiving, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving of 2008. And they sit down with us, and I mean, I walk in, I look healthy because at that moment I wasn't in a lot of pain, but because these waves of pain and just the headaches and the dizziness and the falling over and the nausea and the vomiting and being on all the different meds, because all of that would come in waves, and then it would leave when I had a spinal tap done, and then it would build back up, and I'd have all that pain again, and the spinal tap would relieve it for a little while. Because of that pattern, I was kind of in the middle of I was able to deal with the pain for a little while. And they just looked at me and they were like, okay, well, what we want to do is we want to bring you in after Thanksgiving. We'll bring you in a couple weeks. We'll redo all of your testing. We'll have our guys look at it, and then we'll go from there.